questions, but the reason why I'm asking is I'm hoping that you get to understand more the topic, no? So, okay. Okay. Our first case is a case of a 55-year-old male with a history of acute coronary syndrome. But this patient who has acute coronary syndrome is symptomatic. He has chest pain with a hemoglobin level of 7.9. So the questions are, will you transfuse a patient with this clinical scenario? What component would you request, and how many of that component should you transfuse? And do you need to transfuse all forms of anemia? So let's try to answer the first question. No? Ideally, nahihirapan ako uh, ideally, when you transfuse when the hemoglobin is at 7. No transfusion. Ideally, you should transfuse when hemoglobin is below 7. No transfusion, ideally, is given above 9. So below 7 is the level of transfusion. Above 9, you don't normally transfuse. Now, what is it between 7 to 9? Between 7 to 9 will depend on several aspects. First, if you have comorbid conditions, such as a kidney problem, such as if you have a heart problem, if you have a lung problem, such as COPD, congestive heart failure, uh, cardiovascular diseases, and if your patient is very symptomatic for these conditions, no? Alam nyo, pag nagtatransfuse kayo, dinadagdagan nyo yung tubig sa patient, and therefore, very risky mag-transfuse. At saka it's like a form of organ transfusion. So may risk ang transfusion. So hindi basta-basta nagtatransfuse. So what component should you transfuse for those with hemoglobin below 7 or those between 7 to 9 but with comorbid factors? So ideally, if you will notice this particular difference between whole blood and PAC-RBC, yung volume, malaki ang difference. Dun sa may kidney failure, ayaw nyo na mataas ang blood volume kasi mataas na yung blood volume ng mga pasyente na to, dadagdagan nyo pa ba? Sa heart failure, ang heart hindi na nagfa-function ng maayos. Gusto nyo bang dagdagan pa yung tubig? Of course not. So the ideal blood component to transfuse for these comorbid factors would be packed red cells. Kasi pansinin mo, sa packed red cells, yung volume ng red cell at yung volume ng red cell sa whole blood at yung volume ng red cell sa packed red cell, parehong-pareho. Ang difference ay yung plasma volume. Yung plasma volume, puno or madami, in case of whole blood, yun ang tinatanggal nyo sa packed red cell, yung plasma or yung serum. So, yung plasma na yan, hindi nyo yan kailangan eh. Kasi yung plasma na yan, it contains albumin na nag-i-elicit pa ng immunologic response at allergic reaction, yung mga citrate, sodium na hindi mo kailangan sa pasyente. Ang kailangan mo lang talaga ay distribution of oxygen by red cells. So pansinin nyo dito, ang volume sa whole blood is 520 at ang volume ng packed red cell ay kalahati lang nun, Pero ang red cell content ng parehong blood unit ay pareho. So anong gagamitin nyo? Hindi nyo naman kailangan yung plasma. Gagamitin nyo pack red cell. Sa totoo lang, konti na lang ang need for whole blood. Hindi na siya masyadong ginagamit. So how many units would you transfuse? The transfusion effect of 1 unit would be to increase your hemoglobin by 1 milligram per deciliter or yung hematocrit by 3%. So, 7.2 yung hemoglobin ng pasyente natin. Hopefully, you increase it by 8.2, 1 unit. Okay. After that, check nyo kung dyspneic pa ba siya o hindi na, o kung ano man symptoms. Pag hindi na, pwede nyo itigil. However, if patient remains to be symptomatic at gusto nyo talagang i-raise to a higher level, pwede kayong mag-add ng isang unit pa. So you have to monitor every unit, every blood unit you transfuse in these patients. So do all types of anemia need transfusion? Of course not. Do you remember what type of anemia does not need transfusion? Does anyone remember? Kung ano? Okay. If you have B12 deficiency, magbibigay kayo ng B12, hindi kayo magbibigay ng blood unit. If you have folic acid deficiency, when you have iron deficiency, you don't remember these anemias are chronic anemias. Ibig sabihin yung pasyente, nasusustain nila yun eh. Na kaya na nila yung mababang level ng hemoglobin na yun. Hindi yan bigla-bigla na nag-anemia yung mga pasyente na to. And therefore, bakit nyo itra-transfuse? Ibigay nyo lang yung nutrient na kulang. Iron deficiency, folic acid, B12 are examples of nutritional anemia. Also, if you have a blood loss, that is not very significant. Ano ang significant value? Pag 20%, that's about 800 to 1,000 to 1,000. Blood loss over 1,000 in a short period of time, yun, pwede kayo mag-transfuse. Pero blood loss less than 1,000, tas long period of time pa, hindi nyo kailangan i-transfuse yung mga yan. I've seen a patient sa OB na nawalan ng obviously, pag nanganganak ka, ang laki ng blood loss mo. 500, 800 cc after, ang ganda ng puso at kidney ng mga yan. Bakit mo kailangan i-transfuse? Hindi kailangan, lalo na kung hindi sila symptomatic. So it's not always necessary to transfuse blood. So, itong other contraindications, ito usually mga ginagamit sa probinsya to improve wound healing. Hindi na yung ginagamit dito sa Manila as a reason for blood transfusion. Itong volume expander, it would be wise to use other sources. Kung hindi mo kailangan yung red cell for oxygen distribution, huwag niyong gagamitin. Maggumamit na lang kayo ng ibang need. You can use D5-LRS, you can use NSS or other colloid oncotic expanders, but never blood just to expand volume. Okay, for our second case, this is a case of any questions for transfusion of red cells? Okay, so let's go to the second case. This is a case who has colonic CA. The pre-op orders include a cross-match for 2 units of blood. The CBC shows that the WBC count is slightly elevated. The hemoglobin count is 14 and the hematocrit is 43 and the platelet count is 19. The blood count is O positive with and requested a cross-match of 2 units of O packed blood. My question to you is the red cell transfusion indicated for this patient? Anyone from the group? Red cell transfusion. Anyone from the group? Try.
Do.
Yes.
No, possible po ba na in preparation lang po for surgery po. So in case po na hemostatic shock po yung patient.
Okay. So ang tawag doon standby. Cross-match, standby, and cross-match for 2 units. Normally, for every type of surgery, more or less alam ng doctor kung ilang units, ilang blood loss, ilang cc of blood loss meron. So for colonic CA, hindi naman masyadong madami blood loss yan. Kasi surgical resection lang ng 2 ends ng colon eh. Ang problema lang kung dikit-dikit, di ba? Dumikit sa ganitong organ, dumikit sa ganong organ. Pero kung intact na colonic CA, maliit lang ang blood loss. But anyway, your idea is correct. As a surgeon, you would like to type and cross-match as standby. Pero is the transfusion indicated? At 14 grams per deciliter, transfusion is not indicated. Pero tama yung sinabi mo, hindi ko alam kung sino yung nagsalita kasi hindi sa screen ko. Pero tama yung sinabi niya na standby mo yung dugo. No? For every surgery, may standby. Pero indicated ba ang transfusion? As of now, there is no indication for red cell transfusion. So, dito sa CBC niya, ano dapat ang transfuse mo? Outright prior to surgery.
Yung platelet po.
Okay, tama, platelet. Kasi tingnan nyo, sobrang baba ng platelet. So, this is very important. I want you to memorize these indications for platelet. The numbers, like for example, if you have a patient who's actively bleeding, like for example, vehicular accidents or upper GI bleed, hematochezia, surgical wounds, actively bleeding at yung platelet mo mababa, platelet count is 50 or below 100, then you have to transfuse, actively bleeding. Or with Bernard-Solier disease, Glattzman thrombocythemia with platelet fraction defect, you have to transfuse if patient is actively bleeding, even if your platelet is normal. Remember, your platelet function defect will have normal platelet number, and it will be the bleeding time that will be abnormal. Now, what is prophylactic transfusion? Ito yung hindi nag-bleed yung patient, pero sobrang baba ng platelet count. So, kailan mo itra-transfuse? Hindi nag-bleed. Ito yung madalas na problema ng isang clinician sa dengue. Kailan ka mag-transfuse? Ang baba-baba na ng platelet niya. Okay. Walang bleeding yung patient. So, normally, kung walang fever or walang dengue at biglang bumababa, usually below 10,000. For those with fever or infection, below 20, nag-transfuse na. Although some clinicians wait below 10,000 bago talaga mag-transfuse para ma-prevent yung platelet refractoriness. No? Talagang nag-aantay. Hindi naman dinudugo yung pasyente, pero syempre kung ikaw relative, nagdadasal ka na hindi talaga duguin yung pasyente mo. Okay? This is our case. Our case will undergo surgery. Or sometimes, during the post-operative period, bumabagsak yung platelet. So for this patient, you will need transfusion. Ang level should be if below 50 for organ except the eye and CNS below 50 prior to surgery is a requirement, no? And ano yung massive transfusion? Do you remember what massive transfusion is? Massive transfusion is those wherein you replace the total amount of blood that you have in the patient. So ibig sabihin, a transfusion of more than 4 to 5 units of blood within a short period of time. Kung halos pinalitan mo na yung dugo ng pasyente, pag nagbibigay ka ng whole blood, kasi kung massive transfusion, whole blood ang binibigay eh. Kung nagbibigay ka ng whole blood, may platelet ba na laman yon? Wala. May coagulation factors ba na laman yon? Wala. So for massive transfusion, it is required that you give not only whole blood, you give platelets and FFP as well. Okay? So these are the indications. I want you to remember these numbers are very important. Now, how many units of platelets will you transfuse for this particular patient? Each random platelet concentrate, dalawang kinds kasi yung platelet collection. Yung iba, magdo-donate ng whole blood, tas yung whole blood na yon kukunan ng platelet. Okay. Ang tawag doon is random donor platelet concentrate. The amount of platelet you get from each unit is 5,000 to 10,000 units of platelet for that kind. There is a better way to collect the platelet, but it is one more expensive. Two, the machine is not available in most hospitals. Okay. This is platelet apheresis or single donor. So isang donor lang, makakakolekta ka na ng 30 to 50,000 of platelets. So this is equivalent to about 5 to 6 random donor. No? Or actually another name for the random donor is whole blood derived platelet. Kasi galing ito sa whole blood talaga, nag-collect ka sa isang patient, kinunan mo ng whole blood, tinanggal mo yung red cell, tinanggal mo yung plasma, tinanggal mo yung platelet. So, how much, you compute this. So, like for example, for this particular case, you have 19,000, gusto mong iakyat sa 50. Some will even want it to increase to 100. So kung 110 units ang kailangan mo, dito 5 to 10 units ang kailangan mo for your random platelet concentrate. Kung gusto nyo, kung mas gusto nyo, safe kayo na 100. Pero pwede din 50. Okay? So if you use a single donor, mga 2 units ang kailangan nyo if you want to raise it. Single unit will raise it more than 50. 19,000 plus 50, you will get 69,000. So pwede na yon. Pero may ibang surgeon na medyo takot-takot, gusto 100. So pwedeng 2. Pero tandaan nyo, napaka-expensive ng platelet apheresis or single donor, tas wala pa. Not all hospitals will have this service available. So bakit kayo nagtra-transfuse ng platelets pag masyado nang bababa? Bakit hindi ka pwedeng i-transfuse basta na lang ang platelet? Hindi dinudugong pasyente, di ba pwedeng i-transfuse na lang ng 50,000 yan o 60,000 kahit hindi dinudugo? Hindi pwede, hindi pwede. Because ang kalaban nyo is platelet refractoriness. So, madalas ito sa platelet at madalas sisihin ang laboratory kung hindi nagre-respond ang pasyente sa platelet. Kasi you expect the platelets to rise by 10,000, 5,000 to 10,000 per unit. Binigyan mo na ng 10 10 units, hindi pa tumataas yung platelet. Gagalit ka na sa lab. Bakit hindi tumataas? Pero actually, look at the case. Look at your case. Platelet refractoriness is defined as a suboptimal response to platelet transfusion. Ibig sabihin, hindi tumataas yung platelets nyo kahit na trinatransfuse nyo na. So, pwedeng immune, pwedeng non-immune ang cause. So, sepsis by itself can cause platelet refractoriness. If you have DIC, if you have certain drugs, all of this can cause platelet refractoriness. But what you don't want is immune cause of platelet refractoriness. Kasi bakit? Kasi kahit ano pang platelet i-transfuse mo dyan, kahit mag-10, 100 units kayo, hindi yan magre-respond kasi the body is producing antibodies against the platelets. Ayaw niyong mangyari yun. At mangyayari yun kung sobrang daming platelet kayong binibigay. Okay? So this is the platelet response. Actually, if you will note, non-immune response at saka yung intended response, konti lang ang decrease niya. But when you have immune refractoriness, when you have antibodies against your platelet, wala talaga kahit ano pang gawin nyo. At yan ang gusto nyong iwasan pag nag-transfuse kayo ng platelet. Your random platelet will more likely produce immune refractoriness compared to platelet apheresis. So, impending surgery, minimum amount of platelet needed. If you want only 50, level ng platelet, you need about 6, I computed it pala, between 3 to 6 bags for platelet. But for a single donor, you just need 1 bag, okay? So there's a big difference, and platelet refractoriness is decreased if you have a single donor compared to random donor. Okay, so it's best to give platelet apheresis if you want platelet transfusion, especially if you're expecting several units of platelets for transfusion. Okay, just like whole blood or red cell transfusion, there are contraindications to platelet transfusion. For ITP, bakit siya contraindicated? Kasi yung ITP, may antibodies ka against the platelet. For TTP and HUS, ang problema doon is that you have a certain ADAMTS13 that is lacking. So kahit magbigay pa kayo ng platelet, kung ang may deficiency hindi nyo na-address, magkakaroon pa rin kayo ng problema sa platelet. If you recall, your ADAMTS13 is supposed to destroy your von Willebrand factor. So, hindi na di-destroy, dumadami yung clotting issues sa body. Okay? So, kahit anong bigay nyo sa platelet, ganun pa rin ang problema. So, exchange transfusion ang treatment ng TTP and HUS and not platelet transfusion. Heparin-induced thrombocytopenia, of course, you have to withdraw heparin and not transfuse platelet. Okay. Okay. Storage and requirement of platelet and red cells. This is something also you should know for platelet. They are placed in room temperature with continuous agitation for 3 or 5 days. So ang platelet, ang lifespan niya na shelf life at 3 or 5 days. At bawal siya ilagay sa ref. Alam nyo, madalas ang nurse nagkakamali dyan. Ang nurse nilalagay lahat ng blood components sa ref, which is Mali. Yung platelet, pag nilagay mo yan sa ref, wala na, hindi na biologically active yung platelet sa platelet concentrate. Trinatransfuse mo yun sa pasyente, isa pa yan dahilan bakit hindi tumataas. Trinatransfuse nyo sa pasyente, tubig na lang, wala nang lamang active platelet. Kasi pinasok sa refrigerator ng nurse. Bantayan nyo yan pag nasa ward na kayo. Malapit na kayo mag-ward, so bantayan nyo yan. Yung pack red cell or whole blood, yan talaga, pwede niyang ilagay yan sa ref, no? Pero hindi yung ref sa ward, hindi yan monitored, hindi katulad ng ref sa blood bank. Every 30 minutes, every hour, chine-check yan ng medtech kung hindi na lumalampas yung temperature ng blood bank ref. Hindi naman ganyan sa ward. Sa ward, may pagkain pa, may kung ano-ano pa doon. Kaya yung temperature ng ward ref, hindi naman yan 6 degrees centigrade. I'm sure mataas yan. So, hindi pwedeng yung household ref ang gamitin. Pwede siguro gamitin temporarily kung yung pasyente may fever, withhold mo, pwede siguro. Pero kung susobra ng 30 minutes yan, dapat ibalik nyo din yan sa blood bank. So, very stringent ang pag-alaga ng mga components sa blood bank para every time na gamitin yan ng pasyente, maayos at tama yung ginagamit nyo na blood units. Okay? For packed red cells, that is that is not room temperature. That is refrigerator temperature, 1 to 6 degrees centigrade, 6 degrees centigrade maximum, from 35 to 42 days, depending upon the anticoagulant that is used in the blood bank. For fresh frozen plasma and cryoprecipitate, freeze yung blood unit within 8 hours after na-collect. Bakit? Para ma-preserve ninyo yung coagulation factors. Tapos freeze yan, -30 sa blood bank. Ngayon, nag-request kayo ng fresh frozen plasma o cryoprecipitate sa blood bank. Siyempre, yung blood bank, ito-thaw nila yan. Once na-thaw yan, hindi nyo na yan mababalik sa blood bank or hindi na yan ma-reuse. No? So, once thawed, you have to use those units immediately. Okay? So, these are also important, the storage condition and the shelf life, so that when these units come to you in the ward as interns or as future consultants, you know when the nurse mangles all these blood components and give it wrongly to your patient. And then you accuse the blood bank for doing wrong things. Okay, so you have to know what happens to these blood components. Our third case is a patient with cirrhosis with lower GI bleeding. The hemoglobin is 11, so within the range, you don't need transfusion for CBC. The hematocrit is 36, WBC count is 8,500. Platelet count is 120. What is abnormal here is your coagulation parameters, which is 55 for APTT and 32 for your PT. Okay, because this is cirrhosis, you will note that all the chemistry here is quite abnormal. Okay. Okay, so everything in yellow is abnormal and only the WBC count seems to not be normal for this cirrhotic patient. So what transfusion is required for this patient? Remember, our hemoglobin was normal. Our platelet was normal. Let me see, what was that platelet? It's 120. It's lower than normal because normal platelet count is 150. Okay. So do you think transfusion for platelet is required at this stage? Of course not. As you mentioned a while ago, the requirement should be at least 100 if the patient is undergoing surgery. So if this patient is actively bleeding, so you should have at least a platelet of over 50. Okay. Pero 120 siya, so okay. So hindi natin kailangan transfuse ng platelet. Okay. So ang kailangan natin is fresh frozen plasma. So when do you transfuse fresh frozen plasma? If your TT and APTT is elevated, if you have multiple factor deficiency, and when does this happen? Liver disease, DIC, and prior to invasive procedures. Okay. Sometimes you have single factor deficiency also. And you can transfuse FFP. Remember yung FFP, kompleto yan eh. Kompleto yan sa lahat ng factors. Okay? Ang problema sa single factor, magta-transfuse kayo ng 250 cc kasi yun yung amount ng fresh frozen plasma, 250 cc. Minsan, kailangan nyo sobrang dami, i-overload nyo yung pasyente. Pero pwede pa rin ibigay kung wala ng ibang choice, mabagal lang ang pagbigay. Okay? These are very rare. The only single factor that's very common is for hemophilia or factor 8. Meron naman factor 8 concentrate. So yun ang binibigay for hemophilia. Kung walang factor 8 concentrate, pwede kang magbigay ng FFP. Ano pang other use? May isang pasyente, may heart valve problem. So binibigyan niya ng warfarin. Okay? Kailangan niyang operahan for whatever reason. Biglaan, appendicitis or gallbladder problem, kailangan tanggalin niyo yung effects ng warfarin. So, in order to remove the thrombolytic, the problem with warfarin, you have to give FFP to this patient. And as I mentioned, you give it also for treatment of TTP or HUS as plasma exchange. Tatanggalin niyo yung plasma in this particular patient. And in massive transfusion, I told you in massive transfusion, pinalitan nyo na yung dugo ng pasyente. So pagpapalitan nyo yung whole blood, tandaan nyo yung blood sa ref, walang active platelet yon at walang active coagulation factors yun, yung blood sa ref. Bakit? Yung platelet hindi pinapasok sa ref. Yung coagulation factors dapat minus 30. Yung blood ni pinasok nyo 1 to 6 degrees centigrade. So may active factors ba yon at platelet? Wala. So pag binibigay nyo yung 4 to 5, minsan 6, minsan 10 units, massive bleeding, vehicular accident, massive bleeding. Nagbigay ka ng 10 units, hindi kayo nagbigay ng FFP, hindi kayo nagbigay ng platelet, walang effect. Dugo pa rin ang dugo ang pasyente nyo. So remember that every time you give massive transfusion, you give FFP and platelets as well. Okay, so that's about it. Hindi na ako nagtanong sa inyo. Kasi we are short of time and plus the fact na para makapag-aral kayo. Okay? Hopefully makapag-aral kayo for the exam. Any questions? Okay. So if there are no questions, let's call it a day. Good luck sa upcoming exam ninyo. Okay? Everything that the first exam for third year is the easiest. Why? It's a parang review of your second year, especially hematology. So take time na kayo ay medyo mataas ang grade nyo for the first long exam. So everything until transfusion will be the coverage for the exam in third year. Okay, any questions? Okay, hopefully with that we end our activity for this morning. Good day, everyone.